The Great Gatsby Thematic Analysis Project by Peter Furia, Ethan Nishi, and Hunter Hoy. A motif found throughout the book is the relationship between wealth and happiness. Happiness is a noun and is defined as a state of well-being and contentment. Wealth is also a noun and is defined as an abundance of valuable possessions or money. In The Great Gatsby, the main characters all have an abundant source of money and believe that money can solve any issue. The major implication being that money can only make you so happy. As we have seen through the entire story, the protagonists are actually quite sad. After reading F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, a reader would take away that living in the upper class is a facade that gives the false impression of contentment. This theme shows up many times throughout the book. The Great Gatsby is a story told from the perspective of the narrator Nick Carraway. Nick Carraway, neighbor to Jay Gatsby and cousin to Daisy Buchanan, is a perfect narrator as he was only visiting for the summer. This means his normal life does not revolve around them. This also shows that although Nick is Daisy's cousin, he is neutral towards everyone before any of the major events occur. Daisy Buchanan, Nick's cousin, loves living a lavish and foolish lifestyle. This has gotten her into some sticky situations. Tom Buchanan, Daisy's husband, is a wealthy, angry, and abusive man. He is disliked by many characters in the book. Jay Gatsby is who the book is mainly about. Gatsby embodied the American dream in this time period of the Roaring '20s. Gatsby was also madly in love with Daisy Buchanan, which was one of his main motivations to become wealthy.
On page 47, Owl Eyes realizes that Gatsby's library is full of real books, but the pages have not been cut. This quote shows Gatsby's facade of wealth. He owns tons of books that have never been opened just to flaunt his wealth. The books aren't actually doing anything, they just give the impression of intelligence and knowledge.
On page 65, Gatsby stutters and hesitates when he talks about how he went to Oxford University. Gatsby wants everyone to think that he really did attend Oxford, but he's so nervous telling this lie that he stutters and jumbles his words. Gatsby would rather be viewed in a prestigious manner than be an honest man. This ultimately tells the audience that your appearance on the outside is more important than your ethics and appearance on the inside.
On page 83, Gatsby finally gets his chance to meet Daisy, and he doesn't seem to understand that he may need to do more than make everything around him look good to impress people. He insists on making sure the grass looks good and his house is well lit, but doesn't do a good job presenting himself. This is shown when Daisy first comes into the house, and he is scared and doesn't want to confront her.
On page 109, Gatsby insists to Nick that Daisy didn't like his party he just threw. Gatsby is more worried about how good the party is going in Daisy's eyes instead of being worried about her feelings towards him. Gatsby believes that if Daisy likes his bright lights and beautiful women, then he will win her over, but she seemed uncertain about it, so now he believes he has no chance with her. Gatsby wants to think that money wins over women, when in fact he is neglecting what people want most, a strong personality.
On page 161, Gatsby finds that while he has an extremely well-kept and expensive house, after he finds that Daisy doesn't love him, it no longer matters. His garden and outside of his house were previously described as beautiful and pleasing to the eye, but now it is described as frightening and grotesque. It is clear that at the end of the day, all of his possessions don't really make him happy because as soon as he finds out Daisy isn't interested, he doesn't care about them.
On page 5, Nick talks about how subpar his house is compared to others on West Egg. Nick is ashamed of his small house compared to others around him, and therefore feels like he and his house might be overlooked. Nick thinks his belongings don't size up to others, showing how people during this time period don't care how they feel on the outside as long as others view them well.
The facade of the upper class still exists today. While people do strive for success and material gain, it is not to the extent that took place in the 20s. While many still believe that wealth can achieve happiness, people have realized that this is no longer the case.